Hi, everybody. Happy new moon in Libra. I wanted to go live actually because, hi, Hillary. I posted a meme earlier today about how spirituality without shadow work is not spirituality. And the feedback that has come through on that meme is really, really interesting. I'm sitting with all of it. Hi, I used to live in New Jersey. I'm based in LA right now. So hi to my East Coast friends. So I really wanted to talk about why that meme is so triggering and share some of my intention of why I shared it. I think that's the thing with the internet and with life a lot of times, right? We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. So it's easy to project our own illusions onto words or memes or images and find a way to personalize it or turn it into something that it may not be. So my intention for sharing that meme was because, I've been on this path for a really long time. I've been in this space of media for 7 years. And some of the most ugly, cruel, rotten behavior I've seen has come from the tribe of love and light and, raise your vibration. And it's been a really interesting journey to bear witness to the spiritual bypass, which is essentially gaslighting. And, it's at times made me question my own sanity. Like, if I am this spiritual being having a human experience, why does bad happen? Why do we experience loss? Why do we experience death? Why do we experience discomfort? Why are we struggling so hard? Why are there awful things happening in the world? Is it all just because our vibration is in alignment with the highest frequency? Well, there's some truth to the idea of our vibration attracting experiences into our life, but let's hold the idea that sometimes shit just happens and the nature of the universe is chaotic and we're all doing the best we can to surf through chaos. And when chaos happens to you, it doesn't mean that you deserved it. It doesn't mean that, you necessarily attracted it. Sometimes things happen. And that's okay. That's sitting with that. I figured it would be great, depending on how many of you guys are on with me, to read some passages from the Tao Te Ching. Speaking of yin and yang, life is balance, right? We can't know light without dark. We can't know dark without light. We have to have an integrated wholeness or else we're just setting ourselves up for failure. So if we're on a path of trying to understand who we are as spiritual beings having a human experience, we also have to hold space for the fact that includes trauma, that includes tragedy. Not one of us are impervious to the gong of death and the sound of sadness. 2020 has shown us the collective shadow in so many ways, and finding ways to navigate that space with grace, humility, acceptance, and authenticity, and finding ways to find empowerment through it all, that's an integrated whole practice. Just saying, love and light and resonance and all that, it's like, yeah, that's part of it, but that's not all of it. So, with that being said, I just opened to a random page and not to spiritual bypass that, but it's interesting that the page I opened to is about yin and yang. So I'd like to read a little bit from this, and don't mind, I have some incense going. So this is from the Tao Te Ching, which was put together by Lao Tzu, which Lao Tzu, nobody ever really knows who he was. He was just a wise old man. So, yin and yang. Yin and yang aren't sentimental. They exist without moralizing. They act regardless of our wishes, with an ebb and flow of every pregnant moment. The space between yin and yang is like a bellows, empty yet infinitely full. The more it yields, the more it fills. Countless words only count in the yang. Sorry if it paused for a minute. Sorry, my connection isn't that great. So there's a commentary on everything. So I'd love to share the commentary. And then if you want to comment on how this speaks to you, please feel free. So the commentary on this passage. Yin and Yang, like heaven and earth, is a metaphor for all that exists. We are reminded here that existence is not sentimental. The course of events does not simply follow our wishes or prayers. Moreover, the harder we try to force events to conform to our moralizations, the less likely our success. On the other hand, the more we yield to the rhythms or bellows of life, the greater our fruition. How often Lao Tzu bids us to put aside our ideological predilections, sorry, I had to hold that word for a second, predilections, so that we may be free to ebb and flow with the new opportunities of every pregnant moment. Thus, countless words or exhortations count less than the silent existential balance between yin and yang. Thank you so much, Life So Clean. What's your name? So stupid me, spirituality without the shadow isn't spirituality, because it's not as graceful as Lao Tzu would put it, but it is Taoism at its finest, is holding that shadow and light, and all of this are part of the all-encompassing whole. The Tao is so complicated, but it's ever-present, it's everything. It's holding everything. And we say that a practice is just really focusing on the love and light and whatever. It's, again, setting ourselves up for inevitable failure when life hits, everything that I've tried to share or impart on this page or through my work has been a combination of things I've studied, things I share from direct experience. And one of my greatest teachers on this path has been death. Death has been a companion throughout my life since I was 13 years old. I've had a lot of loss. I've had a lot of death. I've had a lot of tragedy. And those are the life experiences that if we can find grace through, find God through, find a connection to something beyond us through, that's what prepares us for reality, because reality's hard. We live in a world that was built against us. Thank you. This was actually gifted to me by some family friends after my father passed away, and I haven't worn it since 2006, which is funny. Hey, Jules. I forget what I was saying. But yeah, as we're this year, right? This year has been a time of showing us how much we need to work on as a species. Racism, social injustice, the political climate, the fact that our world is literally on fire. These are all realities that it's nice to think that we could vibrate them away, but we can't. Action into creation is necessary. So again, that sacred balance. Interestingly enough, the new moon, it's the dark moon, it's the time to plant seeds. It's the time where we look to our shadow to tend to the tendrils of trauma and tension so that we can let them go and have them bloom into something beautiful when the full moon hits, which is actually on October 31st, which is crazy to have a full moon on Halloween. But yeah, this new moon is in Libra, which is the scales of balance, right? If you followed my personal work, I've created an oracle deck, which is based off of the feather of Ma'at, which is the Egyptian netter goddess of balance, out of chaos, justice, order, tending to our scales, making sure that we're a balanced human. So again, what is light without dark? What is dark without light? We grow through contrast. We learn through contrast. A muscle can't grow unless it's stretched. So again, talking about this silly meme and how triggering it was, I don't know. Very interesting. So, I mean, we have about eight of you guys on. If we want to play book roulette, if you want to comment with a page number, I can turn to a page and see what comes through for the collective. Because I think pulling from the Tao Te Ching is really important now for balance. Hey, Marnie. Yes, Ma'at and Eris, the goddess of discord. This is my first live with you. Hey, thanks, Erica. 888111. There's not that many pages in this book. Hey, Kevin. Oh, thank you for joining me. So page 7. Let's see. What does page 7 have to say? Page 7 is transcending. So, the Tao that can be told is not the universal Tao. The name that can be named is not the universal name. In the infancy of the universe, there were no names. Naming fragments the mysteries of life into 10,000 things and their manifestations. Yet mysteries and manifestations spring from the same source, the great integrity, which is the mystery within manifestation, the manifestation within mystery. Hey, Cash. The naming of the unnamed and the unnaming of the named. When these interpretations are in full attendance, we will pass the gates of naming notions in our journey toward transcendence. Powerful. So, you see in the thread of that meme, I had kind of a back and forth where I landed on offering the person I was in dialogue with to watch Jiddu Krishnamurti's talk on truth being a pathless land. Because ultimately, no matter whether you take the elevator or the stairs or the escalator or however you get up, the path is still going to lead you to the inevitable, the one source that we all come from, the one thing that we return to, the Tao. So, in saying truth is a pathless land, it doesn't matter what gets you there, you'll still get there. But again, it's helpful when we integrate the shadow. So going back to this passage, the commentary here says, we are not only reminded here that there is a dichotomy between the unnamed, our intuition, and the named, our reasoning, but also that these two seemingly opposite mind worlds can be integral, yet mysteries, our intuition, and manifestations, our experience, spring from the same source, the universal Tao, the great integrity, by which Lao Tzu means the wholeness and the holiness that is embodied in our nature and in the entire nature of nature. Lao Tzu also reminds us of the mystery within the manifestation, our intuition enriching our experience, the manifestation within mystery, our experience enriching our intuition, the naming of the unnamed, the infusion of our reasoning consciousness with our intuitive consciousness, and the unnaming of the named, the dissolution of alienation from our reasoning consciousness. What is implied here is nothing less than the healing of the split between the two hemispheres of our brain, which have become separated, alienated, and at war with each other during the past few thousand years. Practically speaking, this means, for example, the artistification of science and the scientification of art. And oh my gosh, I am an articulate reader, but this word is troubling me so much right now. And the blank of religion and the spiritualization of life. So I think what they're trying to say is that the kind of codifying religion is also like the kind of opposite side of the spiritualization of life. I wish I could pronounce this word. Mercury retrograde. Hi, love. Hi, Krista. Temperance, yes. So in the realm of science, there's a process which nuclear physics, more than any other scientific discipline, has initiated. In a more advanced evolutionary stage, it will mean the transformation of our fixed and objective hierarchical structures into objective subjective interactive processes. For example, our present linearly and hierarchically structured languages are likely to transform into a music language capable of communicating subtle differentiations and simultaneities of experience, reasoning, and feeling. It's like the movie Arrival. I reference that a lot. It's a really, really good film. I highly recommend it, but this passage on language reminds me of the heptapods from that film. So in the realm of art, the great integrity implies the artistification of life and the gradual disappearance of our old age art classics, such as museums and performance halls. In a more advanced evolutionary stage, we can imagine the transformation of musical and dance composition to improvisation, of painting framed pictures to the artistification of our entire environment. Okay, so this goes on and on. This is a very long commentary. Somebody else had commented a page number. So I think, we have enough people here that I'd like to hear your ideas on what these things mean. I mean, it's great to kind of have the commentary to refer to and look back on, but Black Moon Lilith Astrology said page 16. So let's read the passage and then maybe reflect as a group. And then if we need to, go to the commentary. Okay, so funny enough how this works. Page 16 is actually the commentary. So I will, 16 is the commentary. So this is a short one, so I think we can do both. That was just a very long one, and it felt like it was wasting your time to keep going on and on. So, you are so psychic, Black Moon Lilith Astrology, because page 16 is actually, or this passage on 16 is tempering. So you just talked about temperance. This is very interesting. So tempering. Overpraising the gifted leads to conscientiousness. Overvaluing the precious invites stealing. Craving the desirable loses contentment. The natural person desires without craving and acts without excess. By not doing, everything is done. So, page 16, which you had referenced, the commentary is that excess is rooted in deprivation. When our talents are not appreciated, we endlessly seek praising. When we are denied the essentials of life, we overvalue the precious. When our physical, emotional, and spiritual needs are unfulfilled, we develop desperate cravings because we are starved. Freedom from deprivation will allow us to function effortlessly. Only then will everything be done as a natural expression of our life, needs, and rhythms, rather than as compensations for our deprivations. Whew! Talk about tending to our triggers. There's a lot to unpack there. But it's just so interesting that you had mentioned temperance, and the passage that you got is tempering. So anybody that's just tuning in now, I'm reading the Tao Te Ching, which is a copy I got from Watkins Publishing. They've been a longtime friend of Evolve and Ascend. Back when I had my first podcast, Liberation Frequency, they send me books from their authors, and I love this commentary on the Tao Te Ching. So if you've never heard of the Tao before, and you're just tuning in, I'll give you a quick Cliff's Notes of the back of what this is that we're reading from. So the Tao Te Ching is a universally renowned as a sublimely poetic spiritual teaching by the legendary sage Tao Te Ching. Taoism affirms that each human being is a reflection of the whole universe, a microcosm within the macrocosm, and that all of us live under the same cosmic laws of the Tao. The Taoist follows the path of non-action. The easily assimilated aphorisms in this book are a continuous source of spiritual guidance and nourishment. The spirit of life never dies. It is the infinite gateway to the mysteries within mysteries. That passage reminded me of a documentary I saw called Capital. If the rich weren't so greedy, others wouldn't feel such lack. Yeah, isn't that the weird paradox, right? I think often of The Lord of the Flies and The Hunger Games, and a lot of these great books within our modern zeitgeist, and like what was required reading in high school, and how humanity, we are flawed in our humanity, and it's through our flaws that we grow. It is through the pressures of life that the coal becomes a diamond. And if we had a utopia, eventually another dystopia would emerge, because my utopia isn't your utopia might not be my utopia. Human beings are tribal. We need to learn through contrast, and all of these things exist since biblical time, before biblical time. If you read the Mahabharata or any of these great ancient texts, there's always been contrast. There's always been growth through strife. It's like the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about, or if you've ever watched Star Wars. Star Wars is like the great cinematic elucidation of the hero's journey. But yeah, that's the rub, where we're trying to just transcend a system of oppression. But once we transcend that system of oppression, what will be the next oppressive system to emerge? I'd like to hope that we could self-govern and that we could transcend these hierarchical structures that only impede growth and put us in really difficult circumstances that we literally have to climb out of to feel as though our lives have some semblance of meaning, or that our needs are met. It's so paradoxical. And it's worth thinking about. It's worth asking these questions and wondering and hoping. But it's really, the universe is complicated and chaotic. And it is everything and nothing. So we had another page request to under 16. So 13. Creative Sky. So 13, and then after 13, Krista had said, Dudualza said 32. So 13 and then 32. So 13. So 13 is actually still commentary from Relatively. This is fun because it's kind of like book oracle. I'd love to make this an ongoing thing. So beyond the series of the Tao Te Ching, I have the Gnostic Gospels, I have the Dhammapada, I have Native American wisdom, I have the Quran. All these really beautiful little books of commentary are really great. So I really like the idea of making this an ongoing series because everything that we're talking about seems to be coming through in these numbers. So anyway, so I'm going to 13. 13's commentary, so I'm going to go back to the verse that the commentary is based off of, which is relativity. So thinking about everything that I was just talking about, right? My utopia not being your utopia, everything comes through contrast. This passage is on relativity. We know beauty because there is ugly. We know good because there is evil. Being and not being, having and not having, create each other. Difficult and easy, long and short, high and low, define each other, just as before and after follow each other. The dialectic of sound gives voice to music, always transforming is from was, as the ancestors of to be. The wise teach without telling, allow without commanding, have without possessing, care without claiming. In this way, we harvest eternal importance because we never announce it. Boom. So thinking about that, and thinking about what even inspired this live, that meme that I shared. Maybe I shouldn't have shared it. Because I never shared it to come across as woke. I fucking hate that expression. Because the very expression is kind of like an oxymoron. We're human because we're here to learn. Not one of us are ascended. Ironically, the name. I mean, I named Evolve and Ascend because I got this tattooed on me in 2007 after my dad died. And I got this one tattooed on me in 2012 after I thought the world was going to end. And when I started this platform in 2013, I looked down at my wrists and I saw Evolve and Ascend. And I thought the intention would be to just keep moving forward and keep growing up. And I realized how that can be like a triggering thing to even call a platform. To evolve and ascend as though ascension is an attainable thing within our humanity. But all that to say, I don't think I'm any better or worse than anybody here. And the fact that I only shared that meme to be like, yo, if anybody's trying to take your money or lead you in a direction where you just only love and light and puppies and kitties to protect yourself, because unless it incorporates the trauma and the shadow and the inevitables of life, it's only going to cause harm in the long run. So maybe that was my own thing, relativity, you know. I didn't need to necessarily announce that. So I apologize if that post caused harm. I'm not going to delete it. because I think there's value in the comments there and something to learn from. But always learning and growing, right? Kevin, thanks for the hearts. So do we have another number? Do we want to pull another number? Pull another page? I feel like the Tao Te Ching has been a really serving us well tonight. But I can pull from a different book. Whatever you guys think. Feel free to share a number. There's, how many pages total? 222 pages total in here. But again, to keep plugging it, WatkinsPublishing.com has these series. And as you can tell, this is very loved and worn and lots of bookmarks. Native American Wisdom. All right, let me grab that one. I'll be right back. So actually, I'm grabbing all the books so you can see this is part of this series. The Dhammapada, I forgot, because I color code my books so that they're in rainbow order. So, as you can see, so we have the Tao Te Ching, Native American Wisdom, the Gnostic Gospels, the Quran, and the Dhammapada, which are really sacred Indian texts. So, Native American Wisdom, 44, please. So, Gaia Him, would you like me to pull from the Tao Te Ching or from Native American Wisdom? And My Shadow and I, let me know your preference. Any of these books. I mean, the Quran may be a very heavy thing to pull from to tonight, and I don't want to disrespect anyone, but I definitely find value in looking at all of the mystical traditions because there's something to learn from everything. Really, I mean, at the end of it, when you get past semantics, a lot of it's saying the same thing anyway. Okay. Gaia first, then My Shadow and I. So Native American Wisdom, 44. Here we go. Page 44. That's beautiful. So, the rainbow. Peace after the storms of war and suffering. God's covenant with mankind through his prophets, and the union of all the colors of the races of mankind in pleasing harmony. This is the symbol of the rainbow. This passage is from Seal Hunter, early 20th century, from William Willoya, Warriors of the Rainbow. So that was the passage that you got. Beautiful. There is a prophecy, they say, I believe it's in the Lakota tradition, that this time that we're in is a time of prophecy, and the Warriors of the Rainbow will band together to transcend a time of darkness. It's really interesting. We actually wrote an article about it on Evolve and Ascend. So if you Google like Warriors of the Rainbow, Evolve and Ascend, you'll see that there. So it was a really beautiful passage for you to land on accidentally. So My Shadow and I wanted page 111 of the Quran. So let's see where we are. Okay. Well, it's a long passage, so interesting. So I'll start about here. So this is on page 111, the chapter of the table from the Quran. Say, will ye serve other than Allah, what can neither hurt nor you nor profit you but Allah? He both hears and knows. Say, O people of the book, exceed not the truth in your religion, and follow not the lusts of a people who have erred before, and who led many astray, and who go away from the level path. Interesting, talking about, balance, the level path. Those of the children of Israel who disbelieved were cursed by the tongue of David and Jesus and the son of Mary. This is because they rebelled and did transgress. They will not desist from the wrong they did. Evil is that which they did. Thou wilt see that many of them, taking those who disbelieve for their patrons, evil is that which their souls have sent before them. For Allah's wrath is on them, and in the torment shall they dwell for aye. It's it's intense. So maybe pulling from the Quran is a hard thing to do. I have so much respect and reverence for this, but not for the beginner's mind. But I mean, again, so the thing a lot, so if you go to even the Egyptian tradition, they used to have more of like a pagan outlook on different gods and goddesses, the Netters. And then Akhenaten was the first leader who realized that there is one god, but the sun god, like the Atum. A lot of prophets come to this revelation. So Muhammad saw, pagan worship and had a revelation that there's only one God, right? Baha'u'llah was believed to be one of our last prophets, which is the prophet of the Baha'i faith. Again, believing to be one God, seeing that, there's all this deception and things leading us astray. But, it's an interesting thing to wrap your head around. When I drove cross country and moved to LA this last summer, one of the nights that I was on the road, I stayed in a Hare Krishna temple. And in the Hare Krishna faith, they, believe in the different avatars of the one source, the one God, but Krishna is the one God. So every avatar of that one God is actually an avatar of Krishna. So it's hard to wrap your head around completely. But there was a passage where Krishna is very cheeky, and some of the stories about him, there's he's very kind of mischievous, and he's talking about this one passage where a well-begotten traveler came to stay with Krishna in his family, and they put out offerings to the gods. So in the Hindu faith, you'll put out an orange or a food offering, and Krishna kept eating them, and the person kept saying what are you doing? These are my offerings to my deities. Why are you eating them? And every night the man would put out the offerings, and then every night Krishna would eat them. And then finally Krishna said, well, you're giving this to me anyway, so I'm just doing you a favor and taking it now. So that's the rub. A lot of these esoteric traditions, right? There's one God. If all is one from one source, and there's other things coming from the source, it's like that other meme that I posted where it's you see the universe hiding under a hill, and then all of its fingers are little pieces of the universe. It's hard to wrap our head around. So I'm not trying to rewrite a holy text such as the Quran, but when talking about one God, or I was speaking with a friend of mine who speaks fluent Arabic. So Allah is actually just the Arabic word for God. It's not a different God. It's just the Arabic word for it. So I hope this is all making sense and of value to you guys. I love trying to find the harmony between all of these things, and just to share different perspectives so you can hold space for different traditions and different ways. Page 17 of any of the books. So what I'm going to do actually is pull from, this is my favorite of all favorites, is the Gnostic Gospels. These were taken from the Nag Hammadi library. So these were discovered in Nag Hammadi, and they're a collection of ancient texts from the 2nd to 4th century AD. It's really, really beautiful. So it's yeah. Oh, thank you, friend. I'm so sorry about your father. It's a very hard thing, losing a parent and then getting older and realizing that your parents were people. I turned 35 this year, and my dad was 50 when he died, and that's 15 years from now, so it's a weird thing. But all that to say, my heart is with you, and I understand. And my friend, page 17 of any of the books, I'm going to post page 17 from the Gnostic Gospels. So this is actually from the Fable of the Pearl. So pulling just from this page probably wouldn't make sense because it comes from a longer passage. So, where are we? The Fable of the Pearl, I'll let you know. So you said 17. So page 17 in the Gnostic Gospels is a revelation from the Fable of the Pearl, which is a dramatic Greek myth which depicts the soul's bodily incarnation and its eventual liberation. So it's attributed to Jude Thomas the Apostle. It summarizes the Gnostic call to awaken from the dream of life into self, or God's realization. So this is like a really long one. So since you said 17, I want to... Oh, Cancer. Right? Are you Cancer or are you Gemini? 1 million synchronicities. Yeah, synchronicity is a sign that you're on the right path. So this is tough because this is a long passage. I think the Tao is probably my best bet. Maybe I shouldn't have brought all these other books, but I'm going to just say, so a lot of these texts you can find online. So the Fable of the Pearl, if you want to read that one in its entirety, you can do that, or I'll send it to you in DM. But I'll take one sentence from page 17. Doesn't even make sense. Can you pick a different number? Or I'll do 17 from the Tao Te Ching. Fable of the Pearl, though. It's a good one. 17 from the Tao Te Ching. So, funny story with the Tao. I actually received the Tao 6 years ago. My ex-boyfriend asked me if I wanted to go to a Tao ceremony, and I thought he said dowsing ceremony, like to go look for water with rods. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. This sounds fun. And he's like, yeah, you have to dress in all white. I'm like, why do I have to dress in all white to look for water with rods? And then it turned out we went to a Tao temple, and 10 hours later, I received the Tao, which means that my name was burned in the book of life and I don't have to reincarnate here again. And I received the 3 treasures, which are super secret. But page 17 in the Tao Te Ching is, I love this one, it's the great integrity. So the great integrity is an endless abyss, yet it is inexhaustibly fertile, the source of the universe. It blunts all sharpness, unties the entangled, and merges with the dust. Hidden but ever present, this parent of the gods, whose child may it be? So here's the commentary. As the creator of all mythologies and realities, the great integrity, or Tao, is the paradox that transcends all states of being. It is the endless abyss, yet it is the inexhaustibly fertile source of the universe. The great integrity is the mediator of every state. It blunts all sharpness and unties the entangled. It not only creates, transcends, and modifies, but the great integrity itself merges with the dust, that state to which all matter ultimately returns. In Western theology, nothing precedes God. But according to Lao Tzu, the great integrity is the source of the universe, including all ideas as well as the 10,000 phenomena. The gods are thereby also children of the great integrity. Lao Tzu goes on to ask the ultimate epistemological question: where did the great integrity come from? Whose child may it be? His implied answer is that beyond the finite limitations of our perceptions is an infinity of time, space, energy, and matter, which by definition has no beginning. Therefore, nothing precedes the great integrity, and it is nobody's child. Such a concept transcends contemporary religion and science, both of which harness us to the quantified paradigms of the past few thousand years. The transcendence of these precepts is requisite to our entering the higher evolutionary phase that is the 21st century promises as the potential for our species' self-realization. Beautiful. This is probably the best one to oracle with numbers, because as much as I love these other ones without context, I think it's like a little harder to just pull from. So yeah. Oh, I think I just oracled one for you all. So I wanted to read something from the Gnostic Gospels just because I feel like it's a really great text to complement what we're reading with the Tao. So this book is just like well worn and lots of notes. But this passage is from the Gospel of Philip, which really kind of piggybacks off of everything we've been talking about here, is that light and darkness, life and death, right and left are inseparable twins. For the good are not wholly good, nor the wicked wholly wicked, nor life merely life, nor death merely death. Each will return to its primal source. But those who transcend these apparent opposites are eternal. Worldly names are full of deceit and delude our minds. They muddy our distinction between right and wrong with words like Father, Spirit, Son, Light, Life, Resurrection, and Church. In the eternal world, there are no such deceptions. One name is never uttered. The name the Father gave his Son, for the Father couldn't have become the Father unless he knew his name. Those who know this name never speak it. Truth brought names into being for our sake. Dark powers wanted to deceive man, to confuse his relationship with the truly good. They took good names and gave them to bad so that with these names they might bind them. But through the grace they remove them from the bad and restore them to the good. These dark forces wish to steal man's freedom and enslave him. These powers obstruct man's salvation. For if man is saved, animal sacrifice would end. So again, this is coming from like biblical times. But the interesting thing here is it goes to the point of, there's a philosophical quote. I believe it's Kierkegaard. I may be wrong. Is it Kierkegaard? Who says, if you name me, you negate me. So to put a container on infinity is to try and capture something that can't be captured. And, listening to the Gospel of Philip, after listening to the Tao, which are two completely separate concepts, like this comes from the Nag Hammadi library, which is like the Middle East. And then you have the Tao Te Ching, which is an Asian text. And then you have Native American wisdom, which is, from the Americas, back before we fucking colonized here. Everything was a reflection of great cosmic mirror. So I hope what I've shared tonight has felt inspired or helpful or offered a breadcrumb on the path. I'm grateful for the triggers that emerged from sharing that meme about spirituality without the shadow is not spirituality. And I do apologize. I actually do. If that was received in a way that felt hurtful or harmful or violent, that was not my intention at all. My intention was just to empower you to not fall prey to some of the predatory new age or newage, like sewage stuff out there that can make you feel guilty for having a bad day, or again make it feel like it's your fault because something bad happened to you. Life is complicated, and like the Tao, it's very hard to ascertain the why of things. Alan Watts is really one of my favorite philosophers, and he has this talk that actually the creators of South Park, ditto, keep it gritty, animated, but he talks about how life is a song, and you don't just like listen to a song to get to the end. The beautiful parts of the song are the highs, the lows, the drums, the crashing, the bass dropping. Like, there are so many notes to what makes a song hit you right in the feels, and such is life. So you're not going to just listen to one flat note and find that to be like the greatest song ever heard. I hope this is a prescient metaphor. I hope this is a metaphor that makes sense. But again, contrast is what we grow from. And if we accept both sides of all of it, we can be more whole and ready and empowered. Can be a Jedi that understands that the dark side exists, but uses the Force for good. I'm no Jedi yet. I'd love to be one day. I'm working on that. But I'm a human being, and I embrace my humanity and the flaws that come from traversing space-time in this human meat suit. So, using all of that experience and life to grow from and share with and dialogue to you all about has been a great gift. And I thank you all for having the space for this platform and finding resonance in the things that I do share. Whether it's a stupid meme or my series on the Hermetic principles or sitting and talking to me on a Friday night, new moon, when you could be doing anything else, but you're here with me. So I appreciate that. But yeah, growth. It's uncomfortable, but it's worth it. So with all that to say, I can stay on for a few more minutes if you want. I could pull a couple more passages. If you have any questions or if anything's coming up for you, I'm here to hold space. I'm happy to. Or we just say goodbye for now. So whatever you want. I'm grateful that you were here and listened to my all over the place, everywhere and nowhere, everything and nothing talk. So yeah, I guess on that note we'll leave it. Sending you some full moon goodness, some purifying energies and beauty. Sending you love. Again, any of those books, if you like listening to them. The Native American Wisdom book. Yes, I can. I will DM you that. So this Native American Wisdom book, it's just Native American Wisdom, a collection of speeches, prose, and poetry, and it is from Watkins Publishing. I think that you can buy these all in a series. They're really great. All of them you can get through Watkins Publishing, which is a great esoteric publisher that puts out really great content. And I love these because it's taking ancient wisdom and giving us modern commentary, and they're really affordable. And I'll DM you that Fable, and wishing you all a beautiful weekend. Thanks for being here with me. Love you all.